Good afternoon, everybody. The paper I'm going to talk about is the Melting Himalayas, Cascading Effects of Climate Change on Water, Biodiversity and Livelihoods by et al. And when we talk about the Greater Himalayan region, we are talking about a region covering an area about 7 million kilometers square. These are the high mountains and plateaus in Central, South, and Inner Asia. We have countries like India, China, Tibet, Bhutan, Nepal, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. It is the source of 10 of the largest rivers in Asia. You can see those rivers. Okay, if you take a look at this map, this is part of Asia I'm talking about. The red region is the alpine zone. It is above 3,000 meters the sea level. And the red regions mostly include the Tibetan Plateau. And then we have the yellow zone, which is the montane zone. And these are the areas which are like 1,000 to 3,000 meters above the sea level. And then we have the green region, the light green region, which are the lowlands. So when we talk about the Greater Himalayan region, I'm particularly talking about the red and the yellow region. Okay, so this is a satellite picture. Here we have India and here we have Tibetan Plateau. It is like virtually separated by these Himalayan mountains. And you can see the white patches, these are all Himalayan mountains. Okay, the question is now why it is important. It's important because it is nicknamed the Water Tower of Asia. Why Water Tower of Asia? Because it serves as a source of water supply to about 22% of the world population. And it is also the largest body of glaciers outside the polar region. I'm talking about after the north, that is the Arctic and Antarctic pole, this part of the world contains the maximum number of glaciers. So, some of the effects of climate change that I'm going to discuss is about changes in glacier, predicted hydrological responses, especially on the rivers. Then we have the predicted shifting of the light zones and then cascading effects. All right. So, on the glaciers, initially, as we know that we have right now a considerable amount of glacier. So, with increasing the global carbon dioxide level or the greenhouse gas level, slowly, steadily, the temperature is going to increase, and we still don't know where it will end. But this will definitely have an effect on the glacier. The ice volumes will definitely decrease. The river runoff initially would increase because of that decrease in the ice volume, but it will dramatically decrease after a while. And this would mean that it will create a huge water demand, particularly in those regions. Secondly, I'm going to talk about the predicted hydrological responses in the 10 major rivers in the Greater Himalayan region. These are the some of the rivers that the author has given. Let me tell you briefly about these two rivers. The Mekong River, which originates from Tibet, and then it flows through countries like Laos, like Myanmar, and Thailand, right? You're from Thailand, right? Okay. So the probable future is quite dim. It can cause heavy rainfall and also extreme flooding too. So you got to do something. And then we have the Yangtze River, Wenzhou, right? China. This also originates from Tibet. So what it can have is there could be a dramatic increase in the glacial discharge runoff by 28.5% by the year 2050. So, and also we could see an elevation shift in the light zones. I would like you to focus on the right part of this figure. As you can see those numbers, these numbers show the different altitudinal winds. We move from the lowland to number 1 to the top level, that is the snow belt and the alpine region, from number 5 and number 6. So below this figure is a prediction by the scientists. If there is a 5 degrees Celsius increase in the temperature, what it could do is it could shrink. The alpine region and snow belt region will be gone. So what this would mean that, if you remember, I told you that the Tibetan Plateau falls in the alpine region, right? So the shrinking of the alpine regions will have a dramatic effect on the Tibetan Plateau. It will cause an increase of more than 5 degrees Celsius temperature by the year 2080s. Increase in precipitation also, a glacier retreat by about 18% by the year 2035. This is by IPCC. And there could be like a dramatic decrease in the permafrost. The Tibetan alpine region, especially in the alpine steppe and the alpine desert region, it contains those permafrost, and those permafrost composes of about 2.5% of the global pool of carbon soil. So the disappearances of the permafrost would mean that it would further aggravate the global warming because there will be release of the carbon in the form of carbon dioxide. You can see this, the above picture shows the permafrost beneath the soil, and then you can see the below one, the disappearance of the permafrost right away from the ground. So the cascading effects would include extinction of species, there is an elevation shift, and also there will be extinction of species, particularly because of the loss of key species. And there would be, as I told you, increase in the floods and other natural disasters. I don't think I have to give you any other example than the recent event, right? You remember the Falin typhoon in the Philippines. And then it would further aggravate, like cause an increase in the sea level rise also. So, concluding, we need more research, especially on the tracking of the glacial ice volumes, because these parts, especially the Tibetan Plateau, which is politically very sensitive also, as you must be knowing, because of this like competition with China. Right now, there are like not much research which is taking place, especially on the glaciers which are present on Tibet. And there is also need of integrated thinking. Particularly, we need to, in those regions, since those regions are developing still, many of the people, rural people, and those people, in Tibetans, we have a lot of nomads. They have a very, very good ecological, like traditional ecological way of handling the environment. So they also need to like have more part in national decision making. So right now, this is not taking place. So it's very, very important that countries like China and India should take a lead role in this. So management recommendation would include a better adaptive management and also establishment of adaptive capacities. By adaptive capacity, I'm especially talking about educating those peoples in that region. Those regions, as I told you, still developing. A large number of population, they are still poor and they are not educated. So in the end, I would like to conclude by saying that as we just learned that we are the first humans to breathe 400 parts per million carbon dioxide. So, and in a way, this is quite terrifying, right? And the science is absolutely clear about that. So where does the role of countries like America come here? So America can have a huge impact, especially when it comes to mitigating those effects, because you know that the Earth as a whole is one family, right? So Americans could take a lead role in funding, in educating people out there. And yes, there are so many ways, because I know that especially you guys, you are going to take the lead role in the future, right? You are the policy makers and the decision takers of the future. So I hope that you will definitely take the right decisions in the future. So with that, I would like to thank you all, and thank you especially to Professor John Kelly for helping me find the right paper, and he's always very supportive. Thank you so much. That's it. Thank you.
Question? questions for Jennifer? Across all those rivers, you showed two examples. Is there any other rivers that are there's significant?
So we have so many rivers which are very, very important. So this map also shows the blue lines. These are the rivers. So we can see rivers like the river Ganges, the Brahmaputra, flowing from Tibet into India. And we have also rivers like Indus, which is flowing to west into Pakistan. And then, as I told you, Yangtze River in China. Then we have Mekong into Thailand. Then we have Salween and Irrawaddy. All these rivers will be affected by climate change. Thank you for thinking of this question. I think that goes to
Did the article discuss those countries doing anything to prepare for the increase in water volume in the future?
So in the conclusion part, especially the author seems to be a bit frustrated because he concludes by saying that right now there is no like environmental talk taking place between those countries. And of course we know the reason why, because nowadays every day people talk about economics and there is no place for environment. So that's why I told you, you guys will be the future leaders, right? So please take right decisions on the environment. So I hope you will take that. Right now, it's sadly not that. It's not happening.
Well, it seems like an increased amount of water that to flood levels could have serious economic implications to those countries. So they should be thinking about those issues in economic terms as well as environmental, biological, ecological terms.
Yeah, that's a very good point you brought up. But right now, we have this skepticism spreading all out about whether these are really caused by climate change or these are just like natural disasters. So here comes the role of us. In fact, we need to take up lead position in the future to make those signs much more clear.